Of course, the series starts with Brunson versus Maxey. Jalen Brunson is averaging 26.1 points per game this season, and that puts him above 97% of all NBA players in scoring. Tyrese Maxey, though, he's sitting at 28.2 points per game, which ranks him above 99% of players. That's a 2.1 point per game gap. And if the Knicks want to take this series, Brunson has to find a way to close that gap or completely erase it. Let's talk shooting efficiency first. Brunson's effective field goal percentage is 53.1%, and Maxey's is 53.6%. Almost identical there, honestly. Their true shooting percentages are basically the same too. Brunson's at 57.8% and Maxey's at 57.9%. So neither guy has a real edge when it comes to pure efficiency, but the volume difference is where it starts to matter. Maxey's taking 21.5 field goal attempts per game compared to Brunson's 20.1. Maxey's also knocking down 3.2 threes per game, while Brunson's at 2.6. That extra 3 attempt and extra 3 make per game adds up real fast over the course of a 7-game series. Now here's where things get really interesting for Brunson. His mixed teamwork rating puts him above 96% of players in the entire league. Maxey's mixed teamwork rating puts him above 94% of players. That's a notable gap. Brunson's offensive rating is 122.0. Maxey's offensive rating is 116.1. That 6-point difference in offensive rating is actually massive in the context of playoff basketball. When Brunson's on the floor, the Knicks are significantly more efficient offensively than the Sixers are with Maxey on the floor, even though Maxey is the higher volume scorer. Brunson's net rating is plus 7.2. Maxey's net rating is plus 1.2. That's a 6-point gap in Brunson's favor, and that number tells you how much better the team performs when each guy is on the court versus when he's off it. Brunson also has a positive plus minus in 67.9% of his games this season. Maxey's only at 60.3%. Brunson's on off split is plus 3.3 for the Knicks. Maxey's on off split is plus 3.1 for the Sixers. Those are nearly identical, but the overall net rating gap makes it clear that Brunson is doing more with his possessions from a team impact standpoint. Let's get into the ball handling numbers, because both of these guys are legit creators. Brunson ranks above 97% of players in ball handling. Maxey ranks above 96%. Brunson's dropping 6.8 assists per game, and Maxey's right behind him at 6.6. Brunson's assist rate is 30.43%, meaning nearly a third of all teammate field goals when he's on the floor are assisted by him. Maxey's assist rate is 28.72%. Brunson edges him out there too. The points Brunson's creating for teammates is 16.6 per game. Maxey's creating 16.1. Again, Brunson's the better playmaker by these numbers. Turnover percentage is one area where Maxey actually has the edge. Maxey's turnover rate is 8.8%, while Brunson's is 9.6%. Brunson's taking 2.4 turnovers per game, same as Maxey, but Maxey's doing it on more scoring attempts, which is why his turnover rate ends up a little cleaner. It's a small difference, but in a tight playoff series, every possession counts. Now here's where Maxey really separates himself, and this is something the Knicks absolutely have to account for. Maxey's mixed team defense rating puts him above 82% of players. Brunson's mixed team defense rating only puts him above 57% of players. That is a 25% gap in defensive impact. Maxey's getting 1.8 steals per game. Brunson's only getting 0.8. That's more than double the steal production from Maxey. Maxey's also blocking 0.8 shots per game, while Brunson's only blocking 0.1 per game. Maxey is a real two-way player by these numbers. Brunson is much more of a one-way offensive force. Maxey's also the better rebounder. He's hauling in 4.2 boards per game compared to Brunson's 3.3. Maxey's defensive rebound percentage is 9.56%. Brunson's is 8.2%. Maxey's grabbing more of the available defensive rebounds when he's on the floor, and that matters for possessions. Usage rate is the last piece of this puzzle. Brunson's usage rate is 30.5%, which ranks him above 96% of all players in the league. Maxey's usage rate is 29.5%, ranking him above 95%. Brunson's actually running more of the offense by percentage, but Maxey's taking more field goal attempts and playing more possessions overall. Maxey's logged 78.7 possessions played compared to Brunson's 71.0. Maxey's simply getting more run and doing more with it from a raw production standpoint. So here's where it all lands. Maxey's scoring more, playing more possessions, defending better, and rebounding better. But Brunson is the more impactful player from a team performance standpoint based on the net rating, offensive rating, and mixed teamwork numbers. The Knicks need Brunson to translate that team impact into raw stat production that actually matches or exceeds what Maxey's putting up on the other end. The gap between these two right now slightly favors Maxey on paper, and if the Knicks are going to win this series, Brunson's going to have to be the one who pushes his numbers to another level. But that reminds me, this video is presented by PrizePicks, America's #1 daily fantasy app. The playoff push is heating up right now, and with all these big games, I've been using PrizePicks a lot more. It just makes watching everything way more interesting, because now I'm not just watching the game, I actually have a take on how players are going to perform. I've always liked making player picks on PrizePicks, and now I can go even further. I can mix different player stat projections and build out my lineups however I want. So every single game actually matters way more. And what I like is everything is in one place. Whether it's playoff matchups or big tournament games, I can make all my picks right in the PrizePicks app. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, a preferred partner of the NBA. But then we got the center matchup. Karl Anthony Towns is averaging 19.9 points per game this season, which ranks him above 92% of all NBA players. Joel Embiid is averaging 27 points per game, ranking him above 98% of players. That's a 7.1 point per game difference. And yeah, that's a significant gap on paper, but the numbers tell a much more interesting story when you dig past the raw scoring. And that's exactly what's going to matter when these two big men go head to head in this series. Let's start with shooting efficiency, because this is where Towns actually has a real, measurable edge. Towns' effective field goal percentage is 56%, ranking him above 65% of players. Embiid's effective field goal percentage is 52%, ranking him above only 35% of players. That's a 4-point gap in Towns' favor, and in the context of a center matchup in the playoffs, that kind of efficiency difference is enormous. Towns is simply a more efficient shooter from the field, and that matters when every possession counts. True shooting percentage backs this up even more. Towns' true shooting percentage is 62.5%, ranking him above 81% of players. Embiid's true shooting percentage is 59.3%, ranking him above 64% of players. Towns is the more efficient scorer, even though he's scoring less per game. He's doing more with each individual scoring attempt, and that's something the Knicks can absolutely build on. If Towns can keep his efficiency up while increasing his volume even slightly, the production gap between these two centers shrinks in a hurry. Now let's talk about the teamwork numbers, because this is where Towns absolutely shines, and it might be the most important part of this entire comparison. Towns' mixed teamwork rating puts him above 96% of all players in the league. Embiid's mixed teamwork rating puts him above 92% of players. Already Towns has the edge there, but it gets better. Towns' offensive rating is 121.0. Embiid's offensive rating is 119.7. Towns' offense is actually more efficient when he's on the floor than Embiid's is. That's not a small thing. That's a legitimate edge for the Knicks. Towns' net rating is plus 8.1. Embiid's net rating is plus 5.4. That's a 2.7 net rating advantage for Towns, and it means the Knicks are performing better with Towns on the floor relative to off it than the Sixers are with Embiid. Towns has a positive plus-minus in 64.6% of his games. Embiid's at 69.0%. So Embiid edges him there, but Embiid's on-off split is plus 4.1 compared to Towns plus 3.5. Those numbers are closer than the raw scoring gap suggests, which tells you that Embiid's individual scoring isn't translating into as much team dominance as you'd expect from a guy putting up 27 a night. Ball handling is where these two really separate from each other, and it's not in Towns' favor. Towns' ball handling ranks him above 70% of players, and his assist rate puts him above 61% of players. Embiid's ball handling ranks him above 85% of players, and his assist rate puts him above 82% of players. Embiid's the better passer and creator out of the two. Embiid's averaging 4.2 assists per game with an assist rate of 22.39%, meaning he's assisting on more than a fifth of all teammate field goals when he's on the floor. Towns is at 3.2 assists per game with an assist rate of 15.02%. Embiid's creating 10.5 points per game for his teammates. Towns is creating 7.5. That's a real gap in playmaking, and the Sixers can leverage Embiid's passing ability out of the post and pick and roll in ways that'll force the Knicks defense to make decisions. Turnover rate is one area where Towns really hurts himself though. His turnover percentage is 13.74%, which ranks him below 35% of players. That means he's in the bottom third of the league in taking care of the ball. Embiid's turnover percentage is 10.9%, ranking him below 63% of players. Both guys turn it over, with Towns at 2.5 per game and Embiid at 2.8 per game. But Towns is doing it on fewer scoring attempts, which makes his rate look worse. If Towns is going to outplay Embiid in this series, he absolutely has to cut down on those turnovers, because every extra Sixers possession is a chance for Maxey or someone else to make the Knicks pay. Defense is where this comparison gets really fascinating. Towns' mixed team defense rating puts him above 96% of all players in the entire league. Embiid's mixed team defense rating puts him above 89% of players. Towns is the better defender by this metric, and it's not particularly close. Towns' team defensive efficiency is 113.0. Embiid's team defensive efficiency is 114.3. The Knicks are a better defensive team with Towns on the floor than the Sixers are with Embiid, and that's a storyline that doesn't get talked about nearly enough. Yes, Embiid blocks 1.1 shots per game compared to Towns' 0.6, so Embiid's the bigger shot deterrent at the rim individually, but Towns is giving the Knicks more overall defensive value as a system piece, and his presence on that end is a real reason why this team can compete. Rebounding is the area where Towns is in a completely different stratosphere, and it might be the single biggest edge the Knicks have in this big man matchup. Towns is averaging 11.8 rebounds per game, which ranks him above 98% of all NBA players. Embiid's averaging 7.8 rebounds per game, ranking him above 84% of players. That's a 4 rebound per game difference, and over the course of a 7-game series, that translates into a massive possession advantage for New York. Towns' defensive rebound percentage is 28.08%, which ranks him above 99% of all players in the league. Embiid's defensive rebound percentage is 17.08%. Towns is grabbing more than a quarter of all available defensive rebounds when he's on the floor. Embiid's grabbing less than a fifth. On the offensive glass, Towns' offensive rebound percentage is 10.1%, ranking him above 88% of players. Embiid's offensive rebound percentage is 6.07%. Towns is the superior rebounder on both ends, and in a playoff series where every extra possession can decide a game, that rebounding dominance is an enormous weapon. Usage rate is the last number to look at here. Embiid's usage rate is 34.6%, which ranks him above 99% of all players. That's one of the highest usage rates in the entire league. Towns' usage rate is 25.5%, ranking him above 88% of players. Embiid's taking more shots, getting to the line more at 8.9 free throw attempts per game compared to Towns' 5.6, and he's running the Sixers offense through himself on 34.6% of possessions. Towns is playing 63.5 possessions per game, while Embiid's playing 66.0, so Embiid's getting slightly more run overall. The bottom line is this: Embiid's the higher volume scorer and the bigger individual offensive engine, but Towns is the more efficient shooter, the better rebounder by a massive margin, the better team defender, and the better overall team impact player by net rating. If Towns plays to the top of his statistical profile in this series, attacks the glass on both ends, stays efficient, and limits his turnovers, the Knicks have a real advantage at the center position that can absolutely tilt this series in their favor. But lastly, we got the wings. OG is averaging 17.2 points per game this season, ranking him above 87% of all NBA players in scoring. Paul George is averaging 27 points per game, ranking him above 98% of players. That's a 9.8 point per game gap, and on the surface, that looks like a massive deficit for the Knicks at this position. But just like the other matchups in this series, the raw scoring number is only one piece of the puzzle, and when you start pulling apart the rest of the stats, this matchup gets a whole lot more interesting than that scoring gap suggests. Let's start with shooting efficiency, because this is where OG separates himself in a real way. OG's effective field goal percentage is 59.6%, ranking him above 80% of players. George's effective field goal percentage is 52%, ranking him above only 35% of players. That's a 7.6 percentage point gap in OG's favor, and that's not a small difference. That's a significant one. George is taking 18.7 field goal attempts per game and making them at a 52% effective rate. OG's taking 12.1 attempts per game and converting them at 59.6%. George is doing a lot more volume, but OG is doing a lot more with each shot he takes. True shooting percentage tells the same story. OG's true shooting percentage is 63.2%, ranking him above 84% of players. George's true shooting percentage is 59.3%, ranking him above 64% of players. That's another nearly 4-point gap in OG's favor. OG is scoring 1.3 points per scoring attempt, while George is at 1.2. These efficiency numbers matter deeply in the playoffs when half-court offense gets grinded down and every possession becomes a chess match. OG's getting more out of every shot he takes, and that's a foundation the Knicks can build on. Now, the teamwork numbers are where this comparison completely flips the script on anyone who's just looking at the box score. OG's mixed teamwork rating puts him above 98% of all players in the entire league. George's mixed teamwork rating puts him above 92% of players. That's already a significant gap, but keep reading because it gets even more compelling. OG's offensive rating is 122.0. George's offensive rating is 119.7. The Knicks are running a more efficient offense with OG on the floor than the Sixers are with George on the floor. That's a real measurable fact from the numbers. OG's net rating is plus 10.2. George's net rating is plus 5.4. That's a 4.8 net rating advantage for OG, and it's one of the biggest gaps in this entire series across all the position matchups. When OG's on the floor, the Knicks are outscoring opponents by over 10 points per 100 possessions. George is at plus 5.4 for the Sixers. The Knicks are simply a better team with their guy on the floor, relative to without him than the Sixers are with George. OG has a positive plus minus in 68.9% of his games this season, which is right there with George's 69.0%, nearly identical in that department. The on-off split is where it gets really telling. When OG's on the floor versus off it, the Knicks are plus 5.9 points better. George's on-off split for the Sixers is plus 4.1. OG is worth more to his team's margin than George is to his, and that's coming from a guy who's scoring nearly 10 fewer points per game. That's an extraordinary finding when you think about it. Ball handling is George's clear advantage in this matchup. George's ball handling ranks him above 85% of players. OG's ball handling ranks him above 55% of players. George is averaging 4.2 assists per game with an assist rate of 22.39%. OG's averaging 2.1 assists per game with an assist rate of 8.68%. George is assisting on more than a fifth of all teammate field goals when he's on the floor. OG's assisting on less than 1 in 10. George is creating 10.5 points per game for his teammates, while OG's creating 5.3. George is a significantly better creator and playmaker, and the Sixers can absolutely exploit that advantage in pick and roll in isolation situations where they need someone to generate offense for others. Turnover rate is pretty comparable between these two. OG's turnover percentage is 11.02% and George's is 10.9%. Essentially identical there. OG's committing 1.7 turnovers per game, while George is committing 2.8 per game. OG's actually protecting the ball better in raw numbers while taking on fewer scoring attempts overall. Defense is where OG is genuinely one of the most impactful players in this entire series on either roster, and the numbers make that undeniably clear. OG's mixed team defense rating puts him above 95% of all players in the league. George's mixed team defense rating puts him above 89% of players. That's already a gap, but look at the team defensive efficiency numbers. The Knicks' defensive efficiency with OG on the floor is 111.8. The Sixers' defensive efficiency with George on the floor is 114.3. Lower is better on the defensive end, and the Knicks are giving up fewer points per 100 possessions with OG active than the Sixers are with George. OG's recording 1.6 steals per game and 0.8 blocks per game. George is recording 0.6 steals per game and 1.1 blocks per game. OG's generating nearly 3 times as many steals, and his ability to disrupt passing lanes and deny the ball is a massive weapon the Knicks can use throughout this series. Rebounding is solid for both players, but OG's carrying more of the load than you might expect from a wing player. OG's averaging 5.6 rebounds per game, ranking him above 61% of players. His defensive rebound percentage is 12.47%, and his offensive rebound percentage is 3.98%. He's pulling in 4.3 defensive boards and 1.3 offensive boards per game. Those offensive rebounds are valuable because they extend possessions and create second chance points for a team that needs every advantage it can get against a Sixers squad with real firepower. The bottom line here is this: George is the bigger scorer and the better creator, full stop. His volume and his playmaking give the Sixers a weapon that OG simply doesn't match from a raw production standpoint. But OG's net rating advantage of nearly 5 points over George, his superior shooting efficiency, his elite defense, and his massive team impact rating tell a story that pure scoring stats will never fully capture. If OG locks in defensively, stays efficient on offense, and continues to be the kind of glue player that makes every lineup he's in dramatically better, the Knicks have a genuine positional edge in this matchup that can absolutely swing games. The stats say OG doesn't need to outscore George, he just needs to outperform him, and the numbers suggest he's fully capable of doing exactly that.